Hey, this is Tyler with Analytive, and today I'm going to talk about what a parade has to do with your marketing. This is the Analytive Podcast. Hey guys, it's Tyler with Analytive, and I wanted to share with you guys a marketing principle that I think is really, really important for all of us to understand. And it's this. But let me start with the story. So Thanksgiving morning, growing up, I used to come down, and my grandmother, my grandma Brooks, loved, and I mean loved, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I mean, it was on in our house all the time. And for those of you who haven't seen, hopefully you've all seen the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, but if you haven't, it's the one with the big giant balloons that are like the size of a building that people hold on to. And then they have floats with people dancing and singing. Funny story. I remember I was probably, I don't know, like 12 or 13. And I was watching the parade, and there was a kid who was singing and dancing on one of the floats, and he was all dressed up in a tie. And my grandma looks at me and says, that could have been you if you had stuck with those piano lessons. Yeah, I mean, she loved the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And this Thanksgiving, I actually didn't have a chance to go home. I was here with my wife in Colorado. I didn't make it back to the Midwest. But so we woke up, or she woke up a little bit before me. I came downstairs, and she is watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Again, and just loving it and enjoying it. And I started thinking about how an audience works in a parade. And so in a parade, if you think about it, like, you never see the same float twice, right? There's always new floats that are coming by. There's Snoopy, and then there's, Spider-Man, and then there's a float with Santa Claus, or, the band from whatever high school in the middle of Alabama. I mean, it's always different. And I think when people think about marketing and we think about our audience in marketing is very much like a parade, right? It's not like a static audience. People think that you can saturate your audience, and sometimes you can, but that's actually really, really hard to do, especially for any small or medium-sized business. In fact, it's almost impossible to saturate your audience, whether it's online, whether it's in person. Because what happens is, for almost any company, people are always moving in and out of your market at all times. So maybe it is they're moving out of, if you have a haircutting salon, right? Maybe they're moving in and out of your demographic region. Maybe they're, new people are moving in, new college students. I live in Fort Collins, which is a huge college town, and there are college students always moving in and out. But we tend to think of as our audience is static, right? We're marketing to the same people all the time, but in fact, our audience is very dynamic. It's changing. Think of it like a parade, right? That it's always moving, that new potential customers are always coming by. It's not just the same people over and over. You say, well, what about B2B? Well, the fact is, people change jobs, every 2 to 3 years in the business world. So even if you're marketing to a particular company, right? If you're doing maybe like an ABM type campaign, the people involved in that campaign, or the people who are the decision makers, are moving in and out of those companies quite often. And it's almost impossible to saturate that market. So why do I tell you this? I tell you this because I want to emphasize how important it actually is to be constantly in market. I think people think of campaigns as something that you launch and you run it for a month or 2 months or a couple of years even. But the fact is that you're really marketing to a parade that's constantly going by. So you always want to be in the market, right? This is also useful in that if you have a campaign that's working really, really well, right? If you're selling back to school supplies and you have a campaign that's just killing it, every year there are new kids that are going back to school, right? It's not a static audience. If you have, no matter what it is, if you sell, tires on cars, right? People are always replacing their tires. What do you get? 50,000 miles out of a set of tires, maybe? Right. So every year, every day, really, if your market's big enough, there are people who are looking for new sets of tires. So you can keep the same creative in the market for a very, very, very long period of time. One example of this that comes to mind instantly is the Chick-fil-A cows, right? If you're familiar with the Chick-fil-A cows, eat more chicken, everything's misspelled. They've used that campaign. I think we're up to like a decade now, maybe 12 years. I don't know. But they've used that same campaign for a very, very, very long time. because it works and because people are constantly coming in and out of the Chick-fil-A market, right? Maybe young people are coming up and they grew up, so it's familiar to them. Maybe new people are moving to a city where there's a Chick-fil-A, or what also happens is they're opening lots of Chick-fil-A's everywhere. We just got one in a second one in our city this year, and there's more opening all the time. So the fact is, you have to remember that you're marketing to a parade. You're not marketing to a static audience. So if you have a campaign, if you have a creative that's working, double down, triple down on it. Maybe you are sick of seeing it because you see it every single day, right? It always comes across your desk in the weekly or the monthly reports. You see it every time you log into Google AdWords or send creative, copy over to your print editors or whatever that looks like to you. You're always seeing that. But the fact is, your audience isn't always seeing it, right? They're a parade. And so on top of that, so they're always moving, but then it also takes many times for them to see it. Right? Most people don't act on the first ad that they see. They have to see the same ad multiple times over and over and over and over. Right? So by doing this, you're making sure that you are engaging with the people who are coming into the market, and you're engaging with them multiple times. You have that frequency to help them make a decision. Right? So if you have a successful campaign and it's working for you, don't kill it until it stops working. Keep sending that email. Keep running those ads. Keep running that ad copy until you are sure that it's not working anymore. Don't just kill it because you're sick of it. Because if you're sick of it, chances are there are millions and thousands and millions of people who haven't actually seen it. I think of, for example, like big artists like Justin Timberlake, right, has had an amazing career. Think about how many songs that he sings over and over and over, night after night after night. And yet, if you talk to anybody who goes to a Justin Timberlake concert, it's a magical experience because those people are hearing those songs live, right, for maybe the first time, or maybe even if they're a diehard Justin fan, right, like just a handful of times. But he's singing it every single night over and over and over. But the fact is that his audience, right, still loves that. And so if you have advertising that's working, don't kill it. For goodness sake, don't kill it. Keep it going as long as it's giving you results. Anyway, this is Tyler with Analytive. If those ads are working, keep them going. This is the Analytive Podcast.